It's a great catfish lake. For years, it's been known as probably one of the best flathead lakes on the East Coast. Definitely in this area. You come out here and average 20 to 30 pound flathead. Is commonplace for high rock. Try to slide us up on this point, Shane. Yesterday they were in about 10 or 12 foot. We're in 20 right now. Had a nibble. Yeah, so we kind of come out here, a couple hours before dark, and just tiny, but we'll take it. Let's try to catch enough bait to go catch a catfish. We always say that a lot of cat fishermen spend as much time catching bait as some of the other fishermen spend fishing, so it's definitely a part of it. Just jigging for white perch. Just just a two hook bottom rig with either a piece of cut bait or a red worm, and just drop it down to the bottom, and you'll kind of feel them, throb on it, and as soon as you feel them hit it, you just kind of set the hook, and just like that. Yep, I just tie a couple, I think these are number 4, number 2 Aberdeen hooks, 18, 24 inches up from the bottom. And then just depending on how deep you're fishing, if you're fishing shallow, 8, 10 foot, you're going to use a half ounce weight. If you're fishing deeper, you're going to fish 3/4 to a 1 ounce weight. And then that just drops down on the bottom. So you just stick a piece of red worm on there. Really, you can split a red worm in half. They're real lively. I mean, you can see how active he is. They live on a hook real good. We use bluegill too. We use shad. Crappie sometimes. But white perch they're typically real easy to get too. So you can come out here with a simple a 2-hook rig with 2 hooks and a weight, and a container of red worms, and find a school of perch, and within 30 minutes you've got 15 or 20 perch, and you can go fish a couple spots. Yeah, that one's a little better. Yeah, we're getting closer to the right size. Little catfish candy right there. That's really the key. You want the freshest bait you can have. Those fish really, they're after a good lively bait, and we're gonna go and throw these baits around where the fish are laid up doing some of their spawning activity right now. Yeah, this is a good time coming out here and getting on these perch and catching them. It's a lot more action, so it's a good time. Now we got the bait. Now we got to go find a big one. We're gonna go try some river fishing. All right, so I'm gonna get right up here and put this one anchor out. I don't think we'll need but one anchor. Usually you put it back.
Hold you pretty straight, huh?
Yeah, current's gonna peg you. This time of year, I like to come out here this time of day just because the crowds are usually dying down and the heat's dying down. Typically those fish aren't gonna feed in the heat of the day. And you don't want to be out here when the lake's super crowded. I just take and hook him right behind that dorsal fin right there, and then just make sure there's no scales on the hook. And then I'm just going to try to get him to stick over here on this bank. I don't know if there's ever any records kept. The biggest one I've heard of coming out of here is
see how he does.
Is in the mid 60s, 66, 67 pound flathead. And then obviously in the last couple of years, the blues have really taken off. We've seen some 50s and 60 pound blues be caught in here.
And talk about the tournament. The catfish tournaments really have come on strong here in the last few years, haven't they?
Oh yeah. The popularity is growing for catfishing, especially tournament catfishing. you know, the master catters, we have at least 2 tournaments at High Rock a year. We have one in the spring and the fall. The last couple of years we fished here in January, and it's always been a great turnout. You know, we usually average about 40 boats, and you know, it's always a solid weigh in. You always see, you know, a couple 30-pound fish. Usually see, you know, a 40 or a 50-pound fish at the scales.
Huh. Wow.
You know, if you're getting a lot of bites, or if you know you're in an area where you got a history of, you know, catching a lot of fish, you tend to stick it out a little longer. This time of year, you know, we bounce around a little more just because it seems to be a little slower. So you kind of, you know, want to bounce around and find an area where there is a fish or two. We're headed into the summer pattern. And you know, the fish are really in that, they're not quite to the post spawn. Some of the fish are spawning, some of them already have, but the flatheads seem to really be locked down in full spawn mode right now. What happens is, you know, the males will go in and kind of clean out an area for the females to lay their eggs, and then once the female lays the eggs, the male will hang around and guard the eggs, and make sure that, you know, none of the other panfish or anything comes in there and messes up the fry. You'll catch some fish all night. It always just seems to be a little better, you know, right around sunrise and sunset both. I had a buddy of mine that had caught a lot of big fish, and he's a friend of mine from high school, and I kept seeing his pictures and just wanted to try something new. I'd always been into fishing when I was young, and just the allure of catching such a big freshwater fish. I never really got into bass fishing or anything like that, but just the, you know, knowing you come out here and catch a 30 or a 40 or a 50-pound fish, you know, always appealed to me.
What's the biggest one you ever caught?
I've caught a couple, you know, right around 60. The biggest one I've had weighed was about 63 pounds out of Baden. I caught one that's probably a little bit bigger out of Lake Norman, but didn't have any scales that were working. If I had to guess, I would moderately guess between 60, 65, 70 maybe. I mean, I can come out here and, you know, sit for hours, and, you know, if they're biting, it makes it a lot better for sure, but even if they're not, you know, you're learning from it. You know, you're learning what areas they're not in at that time, or, you know, where they're moving from or moving to, either way. So time on the water is definitely what makes and breaks a fisherman. Oh yeah, that's him. Here, Shane. Here.
You sure?
Yep. I get to do this 3 times a week. I was trying to make it to the top.
There, he made a big head shake. Bait's hanging out of the mouth. You see it? Yep. That big
Female.
Big bait hanging out of his mouth.
That tail hanging out.
Yep.
Oh, she's sucking it down.
Yeah, she's trying to finish eating it.
Yes. She said, you ain't getting that back. Get out of here. I think she got it.
Yeah, it did. A little fatter there.
A little bigger.
A little bit fatter.
See that little perch in there.
She done choked it or still got it there?
You can see just
Right there. See the tail?
she sucked it down though. I love it though. This is life for me.
All right, ready? Let him go back swimming.